Hello everyone. Can you hear me? No? Who said no? No. But okay. This is a talk about how to integrate Odoo through JSON-RPC services. I know this is one of the last talks of the UXP, one of the last technical talks. I hope you had fun in the last couple of days. Hope you liked the new version of Odoo, and well, I hope you had a great time. I know you will be tired. I will try to be as fast as I can and, well, keep a good pace. Don't want to lose your interest. I will quickly introduce myself. I'm Emanuele Maruzzi. I am a software developer at Odoo. I work in PS Tech. That stands for Professional Services, for people that don't know that. Professional services in the sense that we do developments for our clients. They want to work with us directly, or we help our partners through their partnership journey by giving them trainings or answering their questions if they have any. Um, well, I'll tell you a small story about a friend of mine that was very into second-hand shops. He used to go to these second-hand shops, buying books, cupboards, and selling them on the internet. After a while, he said, okay, why don't I try to have auctions on these products instead? And he noticed that the prices on that he could sell items for were much higher than the normal e-commerce that he was using. So he decided to switch all of his business to be an auction-based model, and it worked pretty well. He went from selling books, cupboards, to bikes, cars, houses, airplanes, yachts, everything that you can imagine. And he had like the probably luckiest problem that you can have in a business: too much money. So he decided to switch his business and to use an ERP to manage accounting and inventory. Boring stuff, but still needs to be managed. And he found out that there's an ERP called Odoo that can do pretty much everything that he wants to do. One thing that Odoo cannot do in standard is managing auctions, and that's when he faced the first dilemma. Shall I extend Odoo in the sense that I change the logic of my system, create an auction system inside of Odoo, manage everything inside of Odoo, or do I connect these two systems somehow? It didn't have the Odoo development knowledge to do so, so it decided to go the second route, integrating the two systems. This allows him to also be on Odoo online, so it doesn't have to worry about managing a server, and he doesn't have to code anything, because the only thing that, I mean, not really not code anything, but he doesn't have to code in Odoo. So he decided to integrate the two systems. And after a quick search on Google, he found plenty of options. These are just a handful. And well, each of them with their own pros and cons. FTP for um, s- saving files in a server that might be processed later, in case maybe you need to send very big files that do not need to be digested right now, or in case you cannot really interact with any other type of protocol. Then he found a RESTful. Okay, I could use create my own RESTful API. Like Odoo doesn't really have a built-in RESTful API. I don't want to develop my own API. Okay, I cannot use it. Look for other stuff, and then he found that actually Odoo has its own API, which is RPC, which stands for Remote Procedure Call. Just a small comparison between RPC and the other methods. I don't want to push you to use RPC every time, but let's say RPC as its use case. For example, it's action oriented, so it's not resource oriented or file oriented. You are asking to your server to perform one specific action. This is obviously in his case better because he doesn't have to worry about all the things that Odoo does automatically when you switch still order from draft to confirmed or a picking from draft to validated. It just has to ask to do, please validate this picking. Much easier. And well, and it can also perform all the normal CRUD operations, creating data, reading data, updating data, deleting all of them, and more. To give you an idea, RPC can do everything that you can do in the UI as a normal user. You can do imports, you can create, kind of click on buttons, and other things that you cannot do, because RPC can perform all the methods that you have in your Python classes that are defined as public, which means they don't have an underscore before the name. And it's also native, because Odoo has RPC built as its own communication system between the front end and the back end. And I think I said it already, it's ideal for automations. And Odoo doesn't have only JSON-RPC, we also have XML-RPC. They are both valid options, especially in version 18. JSON-RPC can be seen as more lightweight than XML-RPC because you don't have to generate a big payload that you need to send over the internet. But both RPC and JSON-RPC as a more detailed specification do not specify which type of transport layer you need to use. You could use whatever you want to implement, but in Odoo we use JSON-RPC over HTTP. This is a very simple graph of a request, very basic. So let's imagine, going back to the example of the auction website, you're creating your auction in the website, you receive the bids, then someone else will create a higher bid than the previous one until the end of the auction is reached. At that point, we want to create a sale order for that specific auction. So the website will ask to do, can you please create a sale order for me? We have a JSON-RPC client that will perform this action. The request will go through the JSON-RPC route, Odoo will handle it, and the response will be sent back to the auction website. I think I talked way too much without showing anything. I want to show you more of a actual use case that my friend is doing. Well, this is his database. For now, we don't have much. We just have a product category with name auction. Nothing else. And well, this is a very basic example on the authentication, because before you can actually perform any RPC operation, you need to be able to understand what is the payload that you're sending to do. I'm just using the request library, one of the most basic libraries that you have in Python. I'm using Python just for the example purposes. You can use whatever language you want. But this is the very basic payload. You see that we have some parameters that cannot be omitted from the request. One is JSON-RPC, which is the protocol version that you're using for JSON-RPC. In our case, it's 2.0. There's also 1.0, but it's not used anymore. Then you have the method. In the most common JSON-RPC request, method is something that will be actually used by the server to dispatch the request in a specific object. But we don't use it in Odoo. You see that I put whatever, because actually you can put whatever you want. I can change it, put whatever 1, 2, 3, 4, and Odoo will not care about that. It's ignoring that argument. And then you have an ID, because with JSON-RPC, or in general with XML-RPC, you can send multiple requests in parallel, but you might not receive the response in the same sequence that you send them. So with the ID, you can identify and match the request with the response from the server. And this is the most interesting part of the payload, which are the params. So the params is a sub JSON object where you have service and a method. Service and methods are together identifying and dispatching the request to the right Odoo object. We have three different types of services. We have common, DB, or object. Common is used for very basic operations like a login and looking at the Odoo version that you're using. DB is used, for example, if you have the database manager, you want to see the list of databases, you can use that service. But the one that you will most likely use is object. Object is referring to actual Odoo models or objects in general. And the parameters that you normally pass to each method will be generally three: database, user, and password. Database is the actual database, PostgreSQL database that you are connecting to. User will be the login of the user that will perform that you're performing the operation with, because every operation in Odoo is performed as a user. And then the password. You can use API keys or password. This is the very basic authentication that you can use, authorization that you can use in JSON-RPC. If you want to use the JSON-RPC route, this is the option that you can use. If you need to implement your own authentication, you need to write your own controller, but we are keeping everything in standard. So we need to use user and password as the parameters. What happens when I try to run my my request? Let me clear and call it. So as you can see, Odoo just answered with a very simple response. You have the again the protocol of JSON-RPC that is being used, the ID of the request that we sent is just 1, 2, 3. I can put whatever I want, and then the result. In this case, the result is the ID of the user that is performing the operation. As I send the right password and the right login, I just received 2 because that's the ID of the user with that specific tuple of user and password. I could also use the API key, but I'm using the password. And then I want to just quickly show you 2 other examples of the other services that you can use in Odoo with JSON-RPC. One is the list of databases that are served by the server. So let me run the script, and then we will analyze quickly the response. Again, the payload is very similar, and the response is similar. In the result, you see that I have only OXP 2024 because this is the only DB that I'm serving, because I'm filtering all the others out. And this is a good example of JSON-RPC method that I'm calling without any argument, but still I need to specify the args parameter, and Odoo is replying as I expected. Then let me go to the last example, maybe less interesting than the others that we will see later. And this is the about page. So this is one of the services that you can use to get the Odoo version that is being served. In this case, as I'm on the master branch of Odoo, you see that I receive 18.1 alpha, and yeah, very simple. All the 3 different requests, they look almost the same. The arguments are different, and then we go forward with the presentation, and we'll see something that is more interesting and an actual use case, because I don't think that my friend is actually interested in knowing the Odoo version. He knows what the Odoo version is, and he just wants to operate and, for example, create data and perform operations on data. What he would normally do in his own system would be to have a CSV file or an Excel file and import them through the interface. So it would probably go here in products, click connection, and import records. This is obviously not feasible, especially if you're selling hundreds of products per day and you're creating hundreds of products per day. I did a small jump of logic for me and for my friend. The lots that I'm selling in his own website will be represented as products in Odoo. Uh, and as I was saying, you cannot import CSV files all day long. So he built a very simple CSV importer using the load method of Odoo. I don't think it's something that a lot of people know. Load in Odoo is kind of an upsert for records. It's very interesting. It's the same method that is being used when you are importing CSVs. So, and it's very interesting if you don't know it to read it and to have a look at the implementation. But generally, what the load method can do is to import, so create records or update records based on the external ID of some records. For example, here I'm creating 4 products, and each product will have its own external ID, the name of the product, and then 12. 12 is just the product category that I created before. I used an R-coded number. You could use the external ID of the category. But yeah. Then I'm highlighting here the difference parameter compared to what we saw before. We see that we are not using DB or common anymore. We're using object, and we see that we are using the execute keyword argument. So what happens when I try to import my products? Let me put a breakpoint. Okay, you see that we received the request. This is in one of the basic controllers of the base module. I go a little bit forward. This is where the request will actually be dispatched based on the service. So we will go here, and then the execute keyword argument will be called. Not important, the execute keyword argument will actually call the method inside of Odoo. I'm skipping everything and just let's have a look at the actual result. What you see here is the list of IDs that are being created or updated by the request. So we have product 37, 38, 39, and 40 that are being created. And if I go in my product category, I refresh, I see that I have my 4 products here with the 4 different names that I've given them. But yeah, but my friend has a big business. He doesn't sell only in English-speaking countries, and so he might need to actually give the name of the product in the language that the users are using. So when someone will receive an invoice, an Italian person will receive an invoice for a boat, they will not see boat, they will see barca, because that's the Italian translation. They don't want to see boat. So this is also something that you can manage with JSON-RPC. As you would normally do, you would just go here, open it, and update the translation. This is obviously not feasible, again, because this is an extra step. If I would do it with the import, I would switch the language of the user and reimport the products with a different language. I don't need to do it with JSON-RPC. I can just define again my list of products that are being imported, provide the name in the language that I'm importing, in this case is Italian. Everything is the same as before. I'm inserting with the load method records in Odoo or updating them, and I'm passing a context. Context is important because every operation in Odoo is performed with a given context. So that means that you are specifying for an operation the UID, the identifier of the user performing it, the companies that the user has activated, language, and many other options. Context is a very, very big topic with lots of side effects, but the most basic one is I pass the language that I want to update my products, and if I run my script, as you can see here, I'm not creating any new products. The IDs of the products are matching the one of the previous call. And if I go in Odoo, I see my 4 products, and if I open one of them, I see that the language Italian has been translated. So car became auto. Okay, I have my products, I have my translations, and now the only thing that I miss is to actually start creating sale orders. And this is slightly more complex. We are going through different steps. I think I'm almost at the end of the time. I don't know. But we need to do different operations, one after the other, using RPC calls. As I wanted to simplify a little bit the calls, otherwise it would have been like a 400 lines long script. I just created a small function that just performs the RPC call, and I'm passing the arguments and keyword arguments as one of the arguments of the function. And let me go on. So let me try to create and confirm it. So which product has been sold? Let me try bike. As you can see, I receive an error because my workflow, I expect to have all of my auction lots already in the system before actually being able to sell them. So let me go in Odoo, create a new product. Let's call it bike. Save. Price of the product 1, 2, 3, 4. Name of the customer John Wayne. And again, I'm continuously using RPC. In this case, I'm just doing a search read, so a very basic CRUD operation, trying to look for them. In the operation that will be performed right now, I'm looking for a customer with the name provided by the user input, and then I will create it if I don't find it. Now I have an SO created. You see here, SO21 created. What my user would normally do would be to go here, confirm it, create the invoice, and confirm the invoice. But we want to also automate that because this is a long process. I will show it for educational purposes. I would confirm it. I would click on create invoice, select the type of invoice, create draft. Take some time, and then I would confirm it. I don't need to do all of this if I use JSON-RPC, because now I can just go in my script. You see that this is the payload. I don't want to go through it. It's just a creation of a very simple sale order using the create method. So if you're familiar with Odoo, this should be pretty clear. If not, come to me after the talk. And then I will first of all confirm it, because I will call the action confirm function. So if I press yes, the sale order is confirmed. So it went from quotation to sale order. If I would have created the right shipping methods and the routes, the right product, that would have also created the pickings to move my product from my stock to anywhere else. But I don't. It's a very simple scenario. And then Odoo is asking me, do you want to create an invoice or not? And in this case, I'm doing the same thing that the UI will do normally. It will create the wizard, so the pop-up that you see when you click on the create invoice. And then I am validating the pop-up. Okay, took some time. I go back here, and you can see that my invoice is created. So I invoice my client, and everything is good. This is something that I can automate. It doesn't take long to do, and this is how my friend can now manage his auction system very easily. Now, I think I went very fast. I thought I had way less time, so I will just quickly talk about good practices that are very simple. When you need to perform operations using not only JSON-RPC but XML-RPC, or in general, whenever you need to do something, an integration, try to batch your operation. You don't send 4 different creation requests. Try to batch them. Odoo is able to batch the request, the creation of records easily. Do it. If you need to update multiple records, instead of updating one by one through RPC, use the load method as I was doing. and then, well, we use request size, very basic. If you need to ask to get one product, ask for one product. Don't ask for all the products that you have in your system and then filter them out. And if you need to read the data, read only amount of data. Okay, I think that time is up. There was a pad at the beginning, and there's some links. If you want to ask some question, you can scan the pad.
Thanks a lot, Emanuele, for the delightful session. Unfortunately, due to the timing, we won't have question or time to do any questions, but I'm sure Emanuele will stick around, and outside of the room, you can ask away directly with Emanuele. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.